Hello everyone, welcome back. So we'll start the video today. As you know, we were discussing various things regarding to law, and it was quite important for your examinations also. So in this video also, I'm going to give you few very important and crucial definitions and concepts regarding law, especially relating to criminal and civil law. So we'll start the video and definitely you can follow the previous videos also if you have any issues regarding or if you want any guidance regarding laws. A few videos were already given. So do follow them. And in this video, we'll start with legal principles of criminal law. So basically, legal principle one. There are various principles we have. So we'll start with legal principle one. Legal principle one is willful rash driving is an offense. Okay. Okay. So we are describing criminal law. Be very specific. It's not civil law. It's criminal law. And the legal principle one is willful rash driving is an offense. Talking about legal principle two. Whoever intending to take dishonestly any movable property out of the possession of any person without that person's consent moves that property in is said to commit theft, and whoever commits theft shall be punished with imprisonment, which may extend to 3 years, or with fine, or with both. Next, legal principle 3. This says that the law permits citizens to use force only for protection when necessary against imminent attack. Next, coming to legal principle 4. Whoever does any act so rashly or negligently as to endanger a human life or the personal safety of others is said to have committed an offense. Next, talking of legal principle 5. Every person has a right of self-defense if his life is under imminent threat. Legal principle 6. When two or more when two or more persons agree to do an illegal act, it is a criminal conspiracy punishable with imprisonment. Next, coming to legal principle 7. Ignorance of law is no excuse. Next, coming to legal principle 8. Whoever intending to take dishonestly any movable property out of the possession of any person without that person's consent moves that property in order to take such tasking is said to have committed a theft. Okay. So this is in relation to principle number 2 that I said, but that is a little bit different. This is completely related to committing theft. Next, moving to legal principle 9. Whoever intentionally puts any person in fear or of an injury to that person or to any other and hereby dishonestly induces the person so put in fear to deliver to any person any property of valuable security or anything signed or sealed which may be converted into a valuable security commits extortion. Okay. Next, talking of legal principle 10. Whoever dishonestly misappropriates or converts to his own use any movable property shall be punished with imprisonment of either description for a term which may extend to 2 years or with fine or with both. Next, coming to legal principle number 11. What does legal principle number 11 say? Whoever being in any manner entrusted with property with any dominion over property dishonestly misappropriates or converts to his own use that property or dishonestly uses or disposes that property in violation of any direction of law prescribing the mode in which such is to be discharged, or any legal contract expressing or impacting which he has touched. The discharge of such trust willfully suffers any other person to do so, commits crime of breach or criminal breach of trust. That's the exact word called criminal breach or breach of trust. So, if we talk about this, criminal breach of trust again is a very important concept that we have. That's you can see that's quite relevant to our uh, topic. Also, we can discuss that some other day. These are the principles that we have, but criminal breach of trust is a huge concept that requires proper discussion. Next, coming to legal principle 12. Legal principle 12 says whoever by deceiving any person fraudulently or dishonestly induces the person so deceived to deliver any property to any person or to consent that any person shall retain any property or intentionally induces the person so deceived or to do or omit to do anything which he would not do or omit if he were not so deceived, and which act or omission causes or is likely to cause damage or harm to that person in body, mind, reputation, or property is said to cheat. Okay, so this is the clear definition of cheating according to the legal principle number 12. Moving on to the next principle, legal principle number 13. So this says a person is said to cheat by personating if he cheats by pretending to be some other person or by knowingly substituting one person for another, representing that he or any other person is a person other than he or such other person really is. Moving on to legal principle number 14. Whosoever causes the death of any person by doing any rash or negligent act not amounting to culpable homicide shall be punished. Next, legal principle number 15. Negligence is the gross and culpable neglect or failure to exercise reasonable and proper care and precaution to guard against either to the public in general or to an individual in particular, which a reasonable man would have adopted. Next, coming to legal principle number 16. Nothing is an offense which is done in the exercise of the right of private defense. Moving to legal principle number 17. This says culpable homicide is not murder if the offender, whilst deprived from the power of self control by sudden and grave provocation, causes the death of the person who gave the provocation or of any other person by mistake or accident. So there's a clear difference between homicide and murder. Moving to legal principle number 18. This says nothing is an offense which is done by a person who, at the time of doing it, by reason of unsoundness of mind, is incapable of knowing the nature of the act or that he is doing what is either wrong or contrary to the law. Moving on to legal principle number 19. Now, this says nothing is an offense which is done by a person who is or who, by reason of a mistake of fact and not by reason of a mistake of law, in good faith believes himself to be bound by law to do it. Okay? So these were all related to criminal law. Now we come to civil law. Okay. So in in civil law, before we discuss various other things or the principles, we have few very important concepts. And we'll come to that. First is contract. What is a contract? Contract is an agreement enforceable by the law, which is called a contract. Next, we have a concept called void agreement. What is a void agreement? A void agreement is one which is destitute of a legal effect. It cannot be enforced and confers no rights on either of the parties. We also have a term called voidable contract. What's a voidable contract? A voidable contract is one which one in which one of the parties can put an end at his option. The contract will, however, be binding if he does not exercise his option to avoid it within a reasonable time. Next, coming to illegal agreement. What's an illegal agreement? An illegal agreement has no legal effect as between the immediate parties. It is tainted with illegality and is therefore not enforceable. I'll give you another concept called minor. What is a minor? According to the Indian Majority Act of 1875, a minor is a person who has not completed the age of 18 years. In case a guardian has been appointed to the minor by the court, the person continues to be minor until he completes the age of 21 years. Next, moving on to a concept called bailment. What is bailment? According to section 148, remember section 148 of the Indian Contract Act, a bailment is a transaction whereby one person delivers goods to another person for some purpose upon a contract that they are, when the purpose is accomplished, to be returned or otherwise disposed of according to the directions of the person delivering them. So this is the concept of bailment. Now we will talk about agreement and contract. What is an agreement and what's a contract? You know, all agreements are not contracts, but all contracts are agreements. All agreements are not contracts, but all contracts are agreements. So, coming to the definition or the description of contract. According to section 2H of the Indian Contract Act, an agreement enforceably by law is a contract. All agreements are not enforceable by law, and therefore all agreements cannot be contracts. Some agreements may be enforceable by law and others not. For example, let's take an example. An agreement to sell a radio set may be a contract, but an agreement to go to see a movie may be a mere agreement not enforceable by law. Thus, all agreements are not contracts. Only those agreements which satisfy the essentials mentioned in section 10 becomes contracts. However, all contracts are necessarily agreements. Okay. So now we'll move on to the definition of agreement. I told you about contract, now I'll tell you about agreement. According to section 2E, every promise and every set of promises forming the consideration for each other is an agreement. In an agreement, there is a promise from both the sides. For example, A promises to deliver his watch to B, and in return, B promises to pay a sum of rupees 2000 to A. There is said to be an agreement between A and B. A promise is a result of an offer or a proposal by one person and its acceptance by the other. For example, when A makes a proposal to sell his watch to B for rupees 2000 and B accepts his proposal, there results a promise between the two persons. Okay. Now coming to section 2b. Section 2b of the Act defines promise, as I'm going to say you right now. When the person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto, the proposal is said to be accepted. A proposal, when accepted, becomes a promise. Thus, when there is a proposal from one side and the acceptance of the proposal by the other side, it results in a promise. This promise from the two parties to one another is known as an agreement. It has been noted above that an agreement enforceably by law is a contract. All such agreements which satisfy the conditions mentioned in section 10 of the Act are contracts. Now, what is section 10? Yes, we'll discuss section 10. Section 10 says all agreements are contracts if they are made by the free consent of parties competent to contract for a lawful consideration and with a lawful object and are not hereby expressed declared to be void. Keep the essentials needed for the valid contract that you might be required. Firstly, an agreement between the two parties. An agreement is the result of the proposal or an offer by one party, followed by the acceptance by the other. Point number 2, agreement should be between the parties who are competent for contract. Point number 3, there should be a lawful consideration and lawful object in respect of that agreement. Point number 4, there should be free consent of the parties when they enter into the agreement. And point number 5, the agreement must not be one which has been expressly declared to be void. Do you know what a proposal or offer and acceptance is? The term proposal has been defined in section 2a as when one person another signifies to another his willingness to do or to abstain from doing anything with a view to obtaining the assent of the other to such act or abstinence, he is said to make a proposal. Then what is acceptance? According to section 2b, when the person to whom the proposal is made signifies his assent thereto, the proposal is said to be accepted. A proposal is accepted or is said to be accepted when it becomes a promise. Do not forget the essentials of a valid acceptance I just now said. In order that acceptance of an offer result in a contract, the acceptance must satisfy the points that I'm going to say right now. Point number 1, acceptance should be communicated by the offeree to the offerer. Point number 2, acceptance should be absolute and unqualified. Point number 3, acceptance should be made in some usual and reasonable manner, unless the proposal prescribes the manner of acceptance. And point number 4, acceptance should be made while the offer is still subsisting. So these are all the facts and important information I have been given regarding proposal, offer, acceptance, contract, and so other things. So if you're a student of law or if you need guidance for law, do follow this video. This is a very useful one, and also to refer to the other videos made so that you can get proper information as you require. So all the best and thank you for watching this. Thank you.